thank you very much. I appreciate to be here. I bring a topic with you you might not know. And yes, it sounds boring. But maybe you're not aware of procurement and sales in their hands, 80% in average, 80% of the company's revenue are in sales and procurement's hands. Recently we had somebody in our class, strategic buyer, with a 1.4 billion spend budget. Billion, not million. So I told her, imagine what you can do with your spend budget if you are able to do it twice as fast in half the time. So she was like, oh, that will create a real impact in our business. Now reality looks something like this. There's Agile all over. We have Agile in finance, we have Agile in HR, development, product development and so forth. But somehow sales, but also procurement got forgotten. I don't know why. So I'm here today to present you a new approach for procurement, but it works both ways, also for your sales. And I also brought with me a case study so that it gets more clear to you what it means in detail. And what we have done in this case, we have decided with 3 suppliers, we brought them into one room for 2 days, and after the second day we have decided, and on the third day we continued working. But I come to that a bit later. So I would like to give you first some context. So currently, it's my perspective, we have 2 trends. One is what worked on a team level, we would like to scale up on a company level. And the other trend is all about leadership, how I need to change. Now, what we are predicting is there will be a third trend, and this is how we deal with our partners, how we integrate them. We need to become much more of adaptable. We work today with this partner, tomorrow with the other. Currently, we are not able to. So if you want to have real business agility, you need to think end to end. And it's much more than just your supply chain. We are talking about getting an ecosystem agility. Or in the words of True Justice, having just one supply chain is like a PC with a single threaded process. Makes no sense. That was in the past, right? What happened if you have just a single threaded processor? VW experienced 2016. One of their suppliers, it was even a small supplier, stopped delivering. And 27,000 employees had to stop working. Right? Irony of that, it was really one of the very small suppliers. The VW had no other chance to go into negotiations again with the supplier to run up the lines, keep the lines running again. On the other hand, on the supplier market, we see a tremendous development. This was 2016, GE had a first prototype of a 3D printed aircraft, awesome. But this year, they went into production. And what they are saying is they are able to produce that within 1 sprint. Imagine that. How much sense does it make to invest 12 months to look for a new supplier if you can build something within 1 sprint? There are even other suppliers, for example, PC processors, you have the same day delivery. So there is a tremendous development in the market.
I have your request for proposal.
Request for proposal? What the hell is this?
So here's the RFP. I'm going through this strategic process, right, where I'm going to pick my personal trainer. You give me the designs on spec, and then we'll see how I like the finished product, and maybe I'll pay for the bill. Doesn't that sound good?
It sounds completely ass backwards.
I don't have $1.75 in my budget right now just to try one coffee willy-nilly to see if I like it or not. That's why I would like a spec order.
No.
You guys can make me a spec breakfast, right? And then if I enjoy it, I'll make you guys my ROR, my restaurant of record.
Right.
Yeah, and then I come back and...
Come on, get out of my place, come on.
So you don't do spec frames?
Not at all, no.
Okay, and then how do you get clients?
Customers trust me and they like the quality of work I do.
I definitely want you as a client, but I'm going to start providing my services day one, so you've got to start paying day one. That's just how businesses work.
What if you're just my client like right now, and you're paying for your coffee?
How am I going to know if I like the coffee? If I don't get a
You just gotta
transfer?
trust.
Be like everybody else doing, you know, first you pay, then you eat.
If I do like the frames, then I will buy more frames off you for a year, but that will come with a fee reduction. And then maybe the next year after that, another fee reduction of another 20% off. But I will be giving you business.
No, I'm an architect, I'm a professional, and I get paid for my time.
I will own all the rights to all the different training methods you've gone through.
I'm going to teach you how to do stuff,
Right.
and then you own my intellectual property.
Exactly.
Absolutely not ever would I do that. Who would ever agree to that?
Okay, so I'm noticing that our chemistry is not really jiving right
I'm
now.
gonna mess up.
You work for the government, don't you? What's the matter with you, man?
I have other restaurants that will do it for free.
Go for it. Get out of here. Come on. Go for it. Why you come here? Knock your ass out from here. Come on.
Do you do what you do for free?
No.
So why do you want me to?
So you were laughing several times, but it's really, really sad because our business, especially in the software industry, is working like that, right? So that was a bit unfair because all these cases were simple, right? So we all know that Agile is in a more complex area or environment. So the approach I will provide you right in a minute is thought for the complex environment, where we have a lot of uncertainty what the customer, no, my feature doesn't work, anyway, what the customer wants, so the customer needs is uncertain. So it makes no sense to specify it. We need to find out together. While in a simple to complicated area, buying, for example, a new computer or office supplies, you can have you exactly know what you want, you can estimate it, you know the solution, and it has a price tag, so it's simple. So there, RFPs, request for proposals, are still valid. But please don't use it in the complex area. Right. So, very roughly simplified for you to understand how it works today. So on the very left-hand side, we have a business idea. And then it starts. We're creating business plans. And if it's not 100 pages, it's not a good business plan. We are going forward, we have some starting project to analyze and specify. We are doing an offering phase, and at least we have some legal person who puts everything into the contract. So my question is, where is the value in all that work? And right, the value is at the very end, where the team starts to deliver something. So I'm a bit provocative, I know, but all this is cost of delay. And maybe you don't know, but this time, from idea to a signed contract in a complex environment, in average, and we have done some studies, takes 6 to 12 months. Imagine what happens in the market during 6 to 12 months. and you have still nothing built, right? So we thought about it, and that was something I learned today. We started with a powerful question. What if we have to decide within one day? What would be different? Well, we would need all the people in one room. We would need even the customers there, the suppliers, right? And we would like to start as soon as possible to deliver something and to double check, have the feedback cycle with the market if we are delivering the right thing. Well, we were looking into other functions, if they have similarities, and there is business development. I mentioned on the page is business case. We don't do that anymore. Today we have a business model canvas or a lean canvas to write business cases on one page, because we know everything are just assumptions. We need to validate that. And if you do that just your own, you miss the point, because this is just a tool you can do in a collaborative way. And we thought we need something similar for procurement and sales. And this is the lean procurement canvas. So in the middle, it has three main sections. In the middle, why we are doing this initiative. What are strategic goals? What are the business goals behind? On the right-hand side, the what, the customer needs. Who are we doing what we are doing for? And what are their priorities and so on. And on the left-hand side, the how. What are the capabilities we need, the products, the services, from an internal supplier or external supplier, doesn't matter. And the basement are the people that have to collaborate. Just a rough overview how the process works in Agile procurement. So we start with a business model, with a business case. We then can take over already a lot to the lean procurement canvas. We validate that, and just to make it clear, the canvas is just a summary. You maybe have a user story map around, you have a Go product roadmap, and so forth and so forth. But it's a summary. And then you go into a workshop, a validation workshop with your suppliers, with not suppliers, because supplier means you just have to supply. No, with potential partners, acting on the same eye level. And then you fill it out together to get the maximum alignment you can get, and then you simply decide and go on. What it turned out, and we were not aware of that, it's also a super partner management tool. Because you have the strategic goals, you have the what, you have the timing, just everything you need. You just need to update it. We even used it for an assessment of an existing partnership. And yes, we are able to do that within days instead of months. Back to the case. It was a company from the energy sector in Switzerland. They were looking for a new collaboration and communication platform. You can think of, it's not that complex, but they had 2,700 stakeholders, all the employees. So it was kind of a social complexity. So we started, we were initializing the team, and this was it. We had a product owner, a scrum master, we had just everybody that we needed end to end. We empowered them, and we were looking for all the things we already knew and filled out the canvas as best as we could. But these are all guesses. We need to validate them. So we did. But this was after 3 days. We invited, we were asking, who are our customers, who are our users, do we have personas, user segments? Yes, we do have. Can we invite them? Absolutely. So we had a 4-hour workshop with 40 people. We just let them, they told us their needs, we let them prioritize, and so on. We didn't even make any shiny presentations. We just brought in the things we just did. Everything else would be waste. In the meanwhile, his team, and by the way, this is not just an evaluation team. What we have built is a product team. The product team that has to work together with the new supplier, with the new partner, got empowered to decide with which product and with which partner they're going to work. Right? So they worked out the short list, they prepared an invitation, and we knew at these 2 days we're going to meet them. Anything else we didn't do. The invitation, by the way, was just a bad long email. No specs up front, nothing else. There was a call for each of the potential partners where we introduced them into the approach that we will bring a legal person and that they have to bring somebody else with this expertise as well. That we will bring technical people, please bring your technical people as well. We will bring decision takers, please bring your decision takers as well. And then the product owner got shocked. She realized, I'm on holidays. We need to postpone. And the team said, no, you're here. Just go to holidays, we're going to manage. This is also very different to the old approach where just one person usually was in charge. So we prepared an agile contract, but this was just a draft. It was part of the negotiations. And we sent that, the team decided to send that up front as well. And then we went into the workshop. And the workshop had 2 goals. One was, as the people that might work together were there as well, we said, okay, let's run a proof of concept for 2 days. In parallel, the second goal, we're going to negotiate an agile contract. So at the end of the 2 days, we have an offer, which is an agile contract, and we know the product and the service. This is, by the way, the CFO. He presented his vision. So no more, there is a document, no, from first hands. On the left-hand side is the product owner. And these are the 3 suppliers, and not all of them are in the room, on the picture. They were in parallel in the same room. You don't have to do it, but they decided it's more fair. And then we went throughout all the canvas. They did some estimations. We create jointly a Go product roadmap with business goals and keep even metrics, how we measure our progress. So that was built during the day. In parallel, also the product got built. All the results were presented throughout all the participants, even the competitors, which was very interesting how they then behaved. And we, after each block, we had some gut feeling. We asked them for the gut feeling. So we asked the potential partners for their gut feeling, and the buyer side told them a gut feeling. This is not a ranking or something. It's just a snapshot of the current situation. And you see here, they even improved in the two, because there were then some discussions. There were only 2 things that we didn't make 100% transparent: the financials and the contract. You don't have to, but the team decided this might be problematic between the the competitors. So we had breakout sessions. Breakout session for the contract was 45 minutes, time boxed. What happens within this time box? You have read the draft of the contract, which parts we need to discuss about intellectual property, about warranty, where do you see risks, and so on. The outcome was, from the suppliers, but also from the internal legal and procurement guys, this is the fairest contract we've ever made. Everybody could stand behind that. As we were building things, this 2 days proof of concept, we made a demo at the end of each day. Not to the stakeholders, but to the real users. And we got their questions, we got their feedback, and unfortunately, their favorite wasn't our favorite. So basically, we just went through the canvas with all the potential partners, with all the attachment, obviously. As I said, this is just a summary. And what it turned out, this is an agile contract. The lean procurement canvas is an agile contract. It's the most lean contract beside a verbal contract. So, to summarize, we had the luxury that they had some data from a classic sourcing. So it's not fake data, it's real data. And we compared. There was a project in the past with a similar complexity. And you can see, usually this takes just from business case to contract up to 6 months. We did it in 5 weeks. But this 5 weeks included also learning. They just invested the 40% of their capacity, so they still had this content switching. It's even much faster, the potential is even much bigger. We reduced the customer involvement to 3 days. In the classic approach, you have projects to get all the requirements from all the parties. And then you end up with a whole list and you don't remember who was asking what and why. The message from the stakeholders, from the users was, we were not involved ever since that much. They really felt involved. What was surprising to me, the effort was not that much less, but we saw we just pulled out all the air in the system. Or at least most of it. And obviously we decided much faster. What happened? We decided as a team, and I don't know, call it coincidence or ever since all the cases we've done so far, it was always the same decision within the team. Nobody who was applying for another partner or product. I think it's a result of this really big alignment. We decided before the last demo, let's say a pre-decision on the second day, and after all the users were gone, we communicated it, answered the questions to the potential partners, suppliers, and we signed the contract. And on the day after, they continued working. Because the team was set up. We had the working agreement with the collaboration model, with the pricing model, everything was clear. It's not just a fun story and success story, we also faced some challenges. Oops, sorry. So, first of all, uncertainty. It just feels wrong. We had to convince the sponsor, was the CFO, we had to convince the team to try something out. The advantage was that part of the team were working already in a Scrum team, and they made some bad experience with the old-fashioned procurement process, and they had to work against the classic contract. So they said, that doesn't work. We need something new. So let's try something out. Transparency hurts. Not everybody likes transparency. I think you know, you have similar experience. What was really an issue, and will be always an issue, is the capacity topic. We were asking for a product team from day one. So I said, if we start 40% as minimum, we're gonna scale it up to 80%. And the head of IT said, no way, that's not possible, we are not living in a dream world or something. And I said, okay, then we don't start. It seems that this topic is not important. And that led to portfolio discussion, which they were missing, obviously. So that was interesting. Having 3 vendors in parallel is not so easy. You need some big group facilitation skills. Stay in the driver's seat. Oh, that's my preferred story. There was one of the vendors was a big company. So they said, we don't accept your GTCs. Some of you are laughing, yeah, that's a common pattern. And we said, okay, then you're out. What? And I mean, we were not that strict. We said, please compare what you're missing in our GTCs so that you are compliant. We had a dialogue about that. And obviously, that was a good reason to have 2 days overnight. He was doing a lot of phone calls, and he came back the day after and said, yes, listen to this 1-2 points, and then you're compliant, we would agree to it. But never seen before with this company. Yes, the legal will ask for a template of an agile contract, and there are none. If it would be that easy. So my advice to that is create a collaboration model that fits your organization best. Think about how you like to work and collaborate with your partner. Include the legal very early in this process. He was an expert. He was not part of the product team, but he was an expert, and we called him very early. And so he has the same alignment. He knew what we were gonna achieve, and so it was much easier for him to create a contract. And yes, some of us, for some of us, it takes longer to do this change. So please respect that. It's not that somebody is against it. Some good practices for coaches. And I think the Lean Procurement Canvas supports you in that. Start with why. We had in another case, the team couldn't, even the sponsor couldn't argue what are the strategic goals of this initiative. So we said, okay, we stop the workshop here, we are on work. If you don't know it, we don't start. Even if that looks now like a receipt, every case we've done is different. So find your way. And I think I'm in time. So one more slide. You will find more information on Lean Agile Procurement, and we will have tomorrow a deep dive into the canvas for those who like it. Thank you very much.